Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. I got it right this time around. I almost said Sunday Ramblings in Cube World, but I meant Cube Ramblings. It is for me Saturday night, March the 15th, and I have been this is sort of capping off almost an entire day here, where I have been recording lots and lots of stuff. I might actually have a bit of a backlog going, which was my goal. Has been my goal for quite some time, mostly because I want to do more live streaming, and I have been doing some live streaming, and I want to continue, but it is difficult to do that when you have to divide your time between actually recording your series that are going on and then also doing the live streaming stuff. Because when I tend to do it for several hours. It's not just a half an hour thing and done. And I would like to do more of it, obviously. So I want to free up some of that time that I would be doing normal recordings like this, and try to do the live streaming stuff. So I have got quite a bit now recorded. It's not a huge backlog by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll free me up a little bit. On the live streaming front, I did on Friday night, last night. I started what I was planning on doing, which was started playing Deus Ex, the original. I'm going to do the entire trilogy. I'm going to do it in franchise order, rather than the storyline order, which would have me playing the most recent one, Deus Ex Human Revolution, first, and then Deus Ex, and then Deus Ex Invisible War, the one that everyone wishes didn't exist. But I didn't dislike that game that much. I mean, I played it all the way through, so obviously I liked it to some extent. So yeah, I'm doing it franchise order, and I'm just gonna do that on Twitch entirely, mostly because I don't want to record it. It's a AAA game. It's an older AAA game, so I could probably get away with putting it on YouTube. But it's one of those things where I'm trying to keep my YouTube channel focused on the indies as much as I can. Yeah, granted, I put Star Crusader on there, which is technically a AAA game, but yeah, it's going to be a balancing act, really. I mean, I may do some of the classic games on YouTube that I feel would benefit from the YouTube, or be something that a YouTube audience would watch. And then some other things as well, I would just do as a live stream. And really what prompted me to do the whole Deus Ex thing was that I pre-ordered Deus Ex Human Revolution way back when it came out. And I only played about an hour of it, and then other things came up, and I just never got back to it. And my intention is to eventually get back to it and actually play the game. But I figure I'll take the long way around, because why not? I have the ability to do it, so might as well. So I played for about, I'd say 2 hours, maybe 3 hours last night. The original Deus Ex. I got through all of the first mission, and that was about it. I got to the end of the first mission, and then that's where I ended it. So that's part one of hopefully many, many parts. I will not be recording any of that. It will just be if you're online and you happen to catch me on Twitch, then by all means pop in and see what I'm up to. Otherwise, that's it. That's the only chance you're going to get for it. Just to try to keep the copyrights and all that stuff hopefully away. And for those of you who don't know, my Twitch account is Memory Leak Death, so I am twitch.tv/Memory Leak Death, so you can find me on there as needed. If you follow me on there, you'll get an email when I go live. If you don't like to follow people on Twitch, you can also follow my Twitter at Memory Leak Death on there. Yes, I am very, very original, apparently. And I also have my Twitch account set up to automatically tweet out when I'm live streaming. So that is a thing that will continue. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes, the things I intend on live streaming, obviously Deus Ex all the way through the trilogy, one episode at a time. And I'm probably going to do that every Friday night. I'm kind of putting a line in the sand right now and saying, yes, probably every Friday night I will do that for a couple hours. We'll see, depends on what my time is. And I got to stop shifting around in my chair here. It's very, very squeaky chair. And then also FTB, the FTB server for Livecraft Mine has been down for the last week, and I don't even think it's up even today, although our mods, our admins are back. Jonesy and them are back. I don't know, I didn't see anything suggesting that it was up today. I did see the lag has been solved on the vanilla server, so I do have to eventually get back to that. But yeah, the FTB stuff will be something else that I just exclusively stream. There's no real reason for me to do any YouTube stuff on that. I was thinking, and I think I mentioned this last episode, I was thinking of revising my Minecraft Plus series and having a season 2 come up and doing the FTB server on Livecraft Mine. Is that I may do that, but it will be an occasional series, and it will only be highlights. Probably it'll probably actually be, even at that much, it'll probably be live stream highlights and not actual recorded highlights, if that makes any sense. Didn't make any sense to my ears, but you know what I mean. So that's a thing. Also, there's going to be this week, there's going to be a side quest that I just recorded, side quest video. I will insert that. I'm not sure where. Not sure where I will insert that. Probably not during the week. I might actually do it on Sunday. After this Cube World video or Cube Ramblings video goes up. Might either do them at the same time, or I might do them 1 in the morning. Cube Ramblings usually goes up first thing in the morning, and then maybe I'll do this side quest one later in the day. I'm trying to, if I do multiple videos a day, I'm trying to keep them to the weekends, because then I can sort of separate or spread them out time-wise. During the week, I can't really do anything like that. They'll all just go out at the same exact time, and and you just have to deal if I do multiples during the week, which I might do. It depends on what's going on. I also, as I was collecting my my notes here for this episode, I was reading up on some of the RSS feeds that I fell behind on, and I was looking at Rock Paper Shotgun, and they were talking about an Android emulator thingamajobber, where you could play your Android games, on your PC and actually have a proper control scheme. That, given of course that it doesn't require, the velocity, what do they call them? The velocity sensors and all that stuff, where you tilt sensors and all that crap. As long as it's just a point and click or multi-touch. If it requires multi-touch, you're kind of screwed there too as well. But if it only requires a single touch and all that stuff, then there's an emulator out there for it. And I forget the name of it. I forgot to write it down, actually. But that was not what really caught my attention. What caught my attention is that there's a mobile game that's apparently been out for a while. It's been out since last year. And I believe it's called Out There. I think it's something like that. Out was definitely in the title. I forgot to write it down. But actually, that's what I wrote down in my notes. Oh, man, I got to stop moving around in this chair. It's very squeaky. That's what I wrote down in my notes, but I'm not quite sure if that's the name of it or not. But it was described just, in brief as an FTL like game, a roguelike like FTL, only without the space battles, without the combat, I should say. and they had me at FTL. So I immediately went out and said, yes, I want to look at this, and I want to purchase this. It was actually $4, $3.99 on the Google Store, and I purchased it right away. And I do believe that this will be the next series that I record from my Android device, from my Nexus 10. So in fact, I'm kind of jonesing to do it now, actually, to actually start recording it tonight. Even though I've been recording all day long and I'm a bit tired, but I might do it. I might. You can't make me not do it. I might do it. So that is a thing that you can probably expect. I have no idea where that's going to fit in my schedule, because again, I am already doing 7 games a week, 7 series a week, I should say, and actually, I guess technically 7 games too, because they are all separate games. So that is a thing. We'll see. And what else? Been doing so much this week. Also, last weekend, and I talked about this in my recording for Cube Ramblings, and I never really followed up on it. I did have a problem with my live indie feedback stream where you could not hear my voice over anything, and I tried to salvage as much as I could from the recordings, but nothing. It wasn't really that salvageable. It was just a very bad experience as far as just watching the recordings back. So a few things have changed. First of all, I did not do it this week. I was thinking of it, and I thought, you know what, let me just take a break and let me do some proper live streaming first and try to get some of my settings correct. Or do a few more live streams first and get my settings correct. And second of all, I feel like I'm going to probably do maybe just one at a time. And this is my thought is that I would do it during the week rather than on Saturday. And I probably won't, if I'm going to do one at a time, I'm probably not going to announce it ahead of time. I'm probably just going to do it and say to hell with it. You know what I mean? Because one way or the other, my intention is to record it. So even if you miss it, or even if the devs miss it, they should be able to watch my recording of it. Which is the other thing I forgot to do. I forgot to actually hit record on Twitch the last time around. So I have to make sure I do that this time. Plus, I was having problems with Space Salvager in particular, where it was just taking over the screen and not letting me get to my OBS control. And I have found a couple solutions here. First of all, for the microphone thing, apparently, I went, digging some deeper out on the interwebs, and found out that OBS is very, very quiet for everybody. Like, if you use XSplit tends to have your mic very loud, and OBS is the complete opposite. It has your mic very, very low, even if it's very loud in XSplit, if you use that. So others have run into this problem, and what they did was, first of all, went into the volume controls in Windows and said for their microphone properties, just basically did a microphone boost of like 20 decibels, which is what I did. And then in addition to that, OBS has a setting under audio where you can tell it to do a mic boost as well. And it's like, between 1 and 10 times or something like that. So I set that to 4 times, which is what the other person recommended as well. And now it seems like I can actually be quite audible over the gameplay. Still, it's kind of weird with the volume controls. Like the gameplay itself, sometimes you like to be able to hear the, not only the game sounds, but the game music. But there doesn't seem to be a good medium yet where I can get them audible and myself be completely audible and not be competing for the sound bites with the game audio. So as it stands right now, I've been recording it, or I've been playing it at like 30% audio for the game and then 100% for my microphone, which looks like it routinely peaks out, at least from the meter that's on OBS. So I don't know if there's an audio quality issue there yet or not, but I'm going to roll with that a little bit And I'm going to try it on a few games, and we'll see. We'll see how it works out or not. I might have to do some more tweaks. But once I get some of that worked out, I'll start doing the live indie stream again. I might do it again. I might do it during the week, and I might not announce it. I might just do it and see what comes out. And if I get a good recording and I like the settings that I'm getting, then maybe I'll in the future start actually announcing them ahead of time again. And again, I'm just going to try to focus on one game at a time now instead of trying to do 3. My idea behind doing 3 was that there are some alpha games out there that are really sparse on the content right now because they're still sort of tech demo-ish. And I felt like it would be kind of a ripoff to just stream for, 15 minutes and then say, okay, that's it, done. But I have other options, right? Like, once I'm done doing the live indie feedback, I could then go and turn around and just stream something else. And obviously, I've got a whole series that I want to do with the Deus Ex stuff, so I might just, do it that way. Do first half an hour as the live indie stream, or however long I can play the game for, and then switch over to Deus Ex. So, also along those same lines, I found that there's apparently an OBS remote app, which I got working, which is a little web app. You can it's a plugin for OBS that starts a little web server, a little control server, and then there's a web app that you can connect to it with, which you can use on your mobile devices. So I have it installed on my tablet, and it just becomes a remote control where I can go in and say, okay, make this scene the visible scene, make this start recording, stop recording, start live streaming, stop live streaming, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So that might help a lot with the setup of some of these games that do an exclusive mode. So we'll see there. Maybe that will help me in that regard. I've only just played with it a little bit, at least until I can get at least until I get another monitor, which I can't really do because I need a new desk before I do that. So a couple things that have to happen for that to become a thing, but that will soon, eventually, at one point, become a thing. Or so I keep promising myself. So I think that about covers some of the stuff I've been working on anyway. So everything else will continue as is. All my series are rolling along. Let's go jump over to the Kickstarter stuff. I have a lot of Kickstarter stuff, a lot of Kickstarter updates here, as usual. We'll start off with Starcrawler. Starcrawlers just recently finished their Kickstarter, and they had already hit their goal well in advance. But they, last time I looked at them, I think last week they were like $77,000, I believe. Well, they ended up in rare form. They ended up with $100,000, $100,278 to be exact. There were 3,652 backers of it, and their original goal was 65 grand. So they more than they just shattered that original goal, which is terrific. I'm excited for that game. It's one of those games on my list that I'm really excited to see, because it's a nice little spin on a relatively old genre that could use a little extra new spin to it. But fear not if you haven't got into it. They're still collecting PayPal donations, so you can certainly go on there, visit their website, visit their Kickstarter, and I believe the PayPal button is on their Kickstarter, but I'll probably just link you to their website. You can go there and take a look at it. So for that, several rewards, or not rewards, but several stretch goals were unlocked between that 70 grand and the 100 grand. Namely, 3 new classes, 2 of which I know of, 1 of which is still up in the air. There's still a vote going on for it. So the 2 new classes that were unlocked, Engineer, was the one that got unlocked from the last time. You know, remember I was talking about last time I voted for the smuggler. Well, I was outvoted. The engineer got in, but then the second tier got unlocked, so the smuggler eventually made it in. So the smuggler was the second one that was voted in, and now it's a choice between the Force Psyker, which is a, you know, obviously your magic user, or the prototype, which is described as a droid that is murderous and hates your guts. Which sounds intriguing, but I kind of want the magic user myself. I actually voted for the Force Psyker. But, you know, the prototype is an interesting concept as well. It's kind of the way I can summarize the whole Star Crawlers concept is a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of real thought. It feels like a lot of real thought was put into it, which is why I'm so psyched up about it. So that is a thing that can continue. Galactic Princess is our next one on the list here. There's only, as of right now, about 19 hours left, which is probably about 18 or 17 now, because it's taken me about 2 hours to collect all this stuff together here. They are at 33,102 pounds. Their original goal was 20,000, so obviously they're not. It's trickling in. They're not blowing the Kickstarter's panties off, but they're certainly not hurting either for it. And that pushed us up an extra stretch goal tier. So we've unlocked the extra gameplay and mining mechanics. The next one at 35,000 pounds is some new stats, so hunger and a few other things. Again, everything's very vague, so I couldn't tell you what exactly that meant other than you get to see new stats, and I guess potentially new stats are tracked by the game, so hunger becomes a thing. I'm not sure. But if you want to get in on that, you've got a few hours left, so you might want to try and see what you can do with it. Wing Commander Music, orchestral music Kickstarter project. This one, as I predicted, is struggling a lot because it is a very it's a very niche thing, right? I mean, you're paying for a CD to be produced, basically, and that's really all you can get out of it. Although there have been some rewards announced for an individual donation. So first of all, before I get to that, Wing Commander Music is they're at $20,565 they've raised. They need 35 grand in order to get the time and attention of the orchestra to reimagine the music of Wing Commander 3 and 4. This is by the composer George Old Z, I believe. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but I'm just going to call him Old Z because that's that's how it's pronounced, or that's how it's spelled. And there's 6 days left on that. So again, it's going to be kind of rough. It might be one of those things that is saved in the last 48 hours because everybody will start getting their 48-hour notifications, that, you know, the remind me notifications. So we'll see. I mean, they still got a big hurdle to cross. But as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, the composer has thrown in some rewards along the way, and one of them is if you donate $3,000, which is a little bit too much for my blood, but there might be someone out there who will jump at that opportunity. You can get he's going to put up his leather flight jacket. Was it? Yeah, flight jacket. That all the dev team received. Everyone who was involved in Wing Commander 3 received these leather, sort of authentic flight jackets, and he's willing to put up his for that $3 grand if you do a single donation of $3,000. So if you're looking for some nostalgia and you're a nostalgia person like me, and you got that kind of coin, perhaps you want to go over there and do that. You might get a little piece of Wing Commander history. There was also an earlier giveaway, and I think it was for, I'm going to say $1,000. And someone has already posted the $1,000 for that, I believe. But that was for a prop that was used in Wing Commander 3. One of the Kilrathi laser guns, or whatever you want to call them, as a prop. It was a wood and sort of painted gray prop that looked like a futuristic laser gun thingy that the Kilrathi, the people in the Kilrathi suits held during the opening scenes of Wing Commander 3. One of the few actual physical props that were made for Wing Commander 3. Those of you who have played it probably know that it was mostly computer generated backgrounds, computer generated props and all that stuff. The actors were mostly standing in front of green screens, but there were some physical props, namely the Kilrathi suits were real. In fact, there was a mask that was found while going through the archives of the Wing Commander 3 stuff, and their laser pistols and a few other things. Obviously, mostly physical things that the actors had to hold. So that is a thing. You might want to, you might want to jump in there and get a little piece of gaming history. I mean, I certainly would jump on it if I had a little bit a little bit richer taste, I guess. If I wasn't jumping in on every freaking Kickstarter under the sun, and I had the coin to do it, I probably would. Awesome. Some more Kickstarter stuff. Let me get my page turned here. Tabletop Simulator. And I believe I talked about this last week as well. That Kickstarter has completed as well. The final tally on that was 1,822 backers. They originally were looking for $3,000, and they got $37,403. Over 1,200% of what they really needed. And that also coincidentally unlocked every single goal that they could come up with. They actually came up with a new stretch goal along the way, and they surpassed that. And you can continue to back them on their website. I'll leave links, as always, to everything. So if you didn't get in on it, you can still get in on it. But what that unlocked was the Oculus Rift support, the 3D Mini-Me avatars, and the new one that they threw in during the week, which they surpassed almost as quickly as they threw it in there, a space-themed pack, complete with, spacey table, spacey pieces, and low gravity. So you can, those of you who probably don't know, the Tabletop Simulator has its own physics engine in it, so you can, if you get angry, literally flip the table and everything will go flying off the table, as it probably should. But now you can flip the table in low G and watch everything float off. So that's rather interesting. And then after that, there was just all additional money that they that comes in for the game will just go to improving the game itself. So that is terrific. They did send me a beta key for it, since I'm a backer. I just haven't gotten around to installing it yet, and I'm wondering whether I should even delve into it yet or wait until the RPG pack gets mixed into there. Because right now all I could really do is play poker or something else. And I believe there is multiplayer. Obviously it's multiplayer, but I believe there's also an online multiplayer-ish thing where everybody acts as their own server, and you can just say, hey, I'm looking for players, and you'll publish your server out to some kind of main hub, and then everybody can see you. I believe that's how it works, but don't quote me on that. That's kind of what I read when I was looking at it. So that might be a little thing I'd dig into maybe on a live stream, because that seems like the although if you're playing poker on a live stream with somebody else who's also watching your live stream, even though it's 30 seconds behind, it's still easy ripe for cheating. But again, that might be something feasible with the RPG elements, though. So, in addition to that, some new Kickstarters I just backed very recently. In fact, today. Planets Cubed. Now, this one's been on Kickstarter for a while, about over a week or so, and I was sort of on the fence a little bit until I went on the Kickstarter and I realized that everything that I was sort of on the fence about is probably doable and probably okay. So, what the hell is Planets Cubed? It's an open world voxel-based game, and yeah, I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, but that is the hotness apparently nowadays. Your world is cube shaped, and actually cube shaped, not just fake cube shape like like in Minecraft. Actual cube shape, where the gravity actually changes. So if you walk off the edge of the cube and you fall down on the other side of the cube, the gravity pulls you back onto that side of the cube. So all 6 faces of the cube have their own gravity that is what you would expect it to be. There'll be all sorts of biomes like you would expect, and every biome it's sort of like a cube world here, in that it has a level associated with it. So as you explore, the enemies get harder or they get easier depending on what level that actual biome has attached to it. So in addition, it's going to have a questing system. So obviously it's less Minecraft, more Cube World in that regard. And they've sort of fleshed it out a little bit more as far as NPCs go. So you will run into lots of NPCs, some of which you can trade with, but some of which are called job masters. And these job masters will have quests for you, and if you complete a certain number of quests or whatever, you can gain their loyalty, and then they become part of your team. So in other words, you need them to help you do, say, research, to research new things to craft. You may need them to build structures for you, to harvest crops, to fight alongside of you, repair broken stuff, or even dismantle things that you find out in the world, and then make it so that you can either get recipes for them or use them in the crafting of other recipes. And it's what you would expect. It's Minecraft. It's Cube World. There's random loot. There's dungeons along the way with they're boss dungeons, just like Cube World. So you go in there, you fight the boss, and get some rare loot that you can then take back to the job masters and have them dismantle it. Find out how to make it yourself. Make new stuff based on it. Everything is destructible, unlike in Cube World here. Everything is destructible. When it comes to dungeons, though, some of them will be destructible right away, but most, it sounds like, won't be destructible until you actually beat the boss. There might be some kind of magical force field that keeps you from destroying them until the boss is dead. That way, it retains sort of the labyrinthy theme that you'd want or expect, for the challenge. And there's going to be, so the leveling in it's going to sort of take an Elder Scrolls-ish approach. So anyone who's played Oblivion and Skyrim and Morrowind and possibly the other ones, I've never played the other ones. Your character your character's skills improve as you use them. So as you run, your running improves, your physicality improves. As you fight, your strength improves. As you dodge, your dexterity improves. As you climb, your climbing or dexterity improves. Yeah, things like that. That's their leveling. And then I just mentioned the zones of difficulty, which would be, probably biomes, different biomes with different level enemies, much like in Cube World here. And there's going to be an emphasis on vehicles, which is another interesting part of it. You can actually build vehicles, you can build motors and have motorized, mechanized things. And you can build a spaceship. And there's cubes that are visible from your planet, from your starting planet, that you can fly out to and continue your quest with. So, and of course, tameable animals. So you can also go low tech and ride a horse around if you want to, or whatever the alien equivalent will be. So that so far is that they've raised $110,310. They're looking for $250,000, and there's 21 days left on that, so you may want to go check that out if you're intrigued by my description here. It's again, I hesitated a little bit on it because I didn't have a whole lot of details. It seemed to be lax of the details when they initially came out with their first video, but now that I've seen some of it fleshed out a little bit more, I think I think they're on the right path, and I think it will be unique enough, I think, to satisfy those who've played plenty of sandbox games like myself. So might want to check that out. Now, on a similar, kind of similar track, Humble Bundle, in addition to, I believe, there's several other bundles out there as well. I think Indie Royale has one. That is for the similar cause. There was news that came out several weeks ago, and I'm a little bit behind on it, but I had the notation down here for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to it. There's a member of the community, the indie game community, Brandon Boyer, who basically got screwed over by his insurance company. He has some private insurance for himself, and from what I understand, from what I read, as part of that, there was no physical that had to be taken and all that stuff, but they do ask you, and they didn't really ask him any questions or anything like that, so it was just you just get your personal insurance and that's it, your private insurance, and things are good. The problem was that for many years he didn't have any insurance, and he went to the doctor. And, being as it is, you don't really want to lie to your doctor. You want them to know what's going on. But he mentioned offhand that he had had some stomach problems, some stomach pains for several years. And the doctor eventually when he came in and he had excruciating pain, the doctor said that he had cancer, and they had to actually, perform surgery on him and remove part of his small intestine and his liver, or part of his liver. And because he had mentioned to the doctor that he had had stomach pains in the past, but nothing like what he was having now, the insurance company basically wrote it off as, even though it's cancer, and it was cancer that they removed, they wrote it off as a pre-existing condition, which is ridiculous in every respect of the word. I mean, cancer is not usually a pre-existing condition unless you've had a relapse. If this is your first time with cancer, it's not a pre-freaking existing condition. And because of that, he's stuck with the bill. The insurance company won't pay for it. So there's been some fundraising going on. Indie Royale has a bundle that they came up with. It has 30 games in it. I did not write down those games because I wanted to get this episode done, and I've been spending hours here collecting as much as I can. But also, in addition to that, the Humble Bundle has introduced the Humble Bundle of Love, to try to help out Brandon here. By the way, I probably should have mentioned, how is Brandon associated with the indie games? Well, he's the brains behind Gamasutra, Offworld, Venus Patrol. These are big websites for indies, indie developers. He writes articles for Boing Boing, so you might, if you read Boing Boing. And he's also the chairman of the Independent Games Festival. So this guy does a lot for indies. So this is why he's getting a whole bundle of support here. So a humble bundle of love for $25. All $25 goes to support this guy and trying to pay off his bills. In addition to that, and I'm reaching over for my tablet right now, because there is a whole bundle of games that you'll get for free, games and/or soundtracks that you'll get for free if you participate in the Humble Bundle of Love and just give $25, or even more than that if you want. Some of those games are Anomaly Warzone Earth plus the soundtrack, Funky Smugglers plus the soundtrack, P3 Biotic, Receiver, Samaros 2 plus the soundtrack, Sleepwalker's Journey plus the soundtrack, Feel Life and Be Strong compilation, which I don't know what is in that. Unfortunately, there's no link here for it. Actual Sunlight, Airmech plus the soundtrack, Auralux, Bag Full of Wrong, Bit Trip Beat soundtrack, Bit Trip Fate soundtrack, Bit Trip Runner soundtrack, Blocks That Matter plus the soundtrack, Castles in the Sky plus soundtrack, Dynamite Jack, Electronic Super Joy plus the DLC plus the soundtrack, Ensnare Album, Ethan Meteor Hunter, Expander, Android only, plus the soundtrack, Fancy Skulls, God of Blades, plus the soundtrack, Go Scurry, plus soundtrack, Mazing McPixel, plus the soundtrack, Paragon, Pivot, Android only, Pop Methodology, Experiment 1, plus the soundtrack, Proteus, QB, Quixotica album, Sepulchre, I always have trouble pronouncing that, special edition with the ebook, Shipwreck, Sky Nations, Sokobond, Stacking plus the soundtrack, Sword and Sorcery EP plus the soundtrack, The Sea Will Claim Everything, Thomas Was Alone plus the soundtrack, VVVVVV plus the soundtrack, Waking Mars plus the soundtrack, Warp Juggler, Wizorb plus the soundtrack, and World of Goo plus the soundtrack. All those games, all 30 of those games plus their soundtracks, or 30 of the games, or whatever I said there. All of those are free if you participate in the Humble Bundle of Love, and it's only $25. Plus, you can give more if you wish, which would also be it's a very good cause. You might as well give even more there. So yeah, you can get a whole lot of stuff in there. I only know a few of those games. I don't know all of them. Some of them are very, very indie that I've never heard of before. Some of them I have heard of before, but I've never played. Obviously, I've heard of Bit Trip. I have Bit Trip Runner. I just never bothered to play it. It's not really my type of game. I might go back to it at some point and play it. VVVVVV I also have. Again, wasn't really interested in playing it yet, but it's one of those things I might go back to at some point. My tastes tend to change from time to time, as they should. Really, you don't want to get stuck in a rut with you're only playing one thing all the time. Speaking of that, I have damn, I did not write this down, and this is problematic because I'd like to give props to it, but Blizzard has another game coming out. It's sort of a Dota style game, or a MOBA style game, I should say, that I am quite intrigued by. It's like Heroes of something, maybe. That's the title of the game right there. Heroes of something, maybe. I will link to it. I just have to find the name of it, but I will link to it. I just watched this morning a video by both Total Biscuits video and also Jesse Cox's video where they played through it, and I'm not usually into the MOBA games because they are so hardcore that I can't deal with them. But this one looks very accessible to me, just like Awesomenauts. So I think I will dig into that whenever I can, if I can. So just another thing on my radar, but I think that does it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next week.